Over the last decade, I went from a negative net worth to multiple hundreds of thousands, and not because I found some secret investment or a money hack, but it's because I finally built a money system that worked for me. So in this video, I'm going to go through the actual decisions I made over that decade, the decisions that slowed me down, a few of the things I might have done differently if I were to start over, and I'm really making this video to help you avoid the same potholes that I made along my journey in personal finances. So you're not going to have to learn everything the hard way. So let's just jump right into it. So about 10 years ago, I had not much going for me with my personal finances. And mind you, I went to school for accounting. I have an accounting degree. And in my mid 20s, looking back, it's embarrassing. Okay. And the thing that took me over the edge was it was a Friday afternoon. I was going to a car dealership the next day to buy what at that point was the largest purchase of my entire life to that point. It was a new car, right? And I was sitting at my desk at my job and I was like, oh my God, I don't have enough money in my bank account to give the check that I promised the car dealership. And it was because I had no clue how much was in my bank account at the time. So that thing, me not knowing how much was in my bank account, started this whole thing because I was like, it was like a mid 20s crisis for me. I was like, I went to school for accounting. Like I'm telling myself I'm this person that knows numbers and I don't know, money and all this other stuff. And I'm just like not representing that with my personal finances in my real life. So what I started to do was just take the smallest possible step that I could take, that I knew how to take, because I didn't know what I was doing. So I was like, okay, if you don't know how much money was in your bank account, let's just start there. So I was like, for 30 days, you have to just look at your bank account every single day. That's it. And I ended up doing that for over 2 months. And it was actually really interesting. It was a great habit to build. But at that point, it's like, nothing happened, right? I was looking at it and I was more aware of how much was in my bank account. But to take the next level, I had to do like another small action. So then it's like, okay, is it going up or down at the end of every month, right? What makes up my spending every month? Is my my income going up and down? So I started doing all these things and it turned into budgeting on this really crappy app. It was a free app. It was terrible. It always had bugs. And I would click on groceries and it would put it to something else it was so annoying, but it was just a good habit to start getting into. And the real unlock happened when I just started aligning my income. And mind you, at the time I was making mid 40s thousands of dollars a year. So between 40 and $50,000 a year, I was aligning my income to the things that I cared about the most. And I wasn't doing it intentionally, but I was just like, oh, let's just try this. Because I just kept trying new things, like, right, all the things that I've listed so far. That was months and maybe even like a year plus of me just trying stuff to like have a better habit with my personal finances. I now call this the North Star goals. So what I was doing back then was I was aligning my money to the things that mattered to me the most. I didn't have a name for it back then. I was just trying to keep my head above water and getting out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle. But here's how the North Star goals work. And I think this could be really helpful for you. This is your list of financial goals, life goals, non-negotiables, things that matter to you the absolute most. And I recently added non-negotiables in there because I think a lot of times when I'm talking to people about money and personal finances, the focus is like, oh, wow, I need to get better financial goals, right? And great, I love that. But also, if we just say save money or grow our money just for the sake of saving or growing our money, we're not going to be able to, I don't know, it's not going to last very long, at least in my opinion, because it's like there's more to life than just saving money and growing our money. We need to be able to like live a little bit, right? So that's why it's like I put the non-negotiables on there. So what I would recommend you to do if you've never done an exercise like this before is just like pause the video really quickly, write down a list of 2 to 10 things, whatever they are for you. That could be financial stuff, life stuff, or non-negotiables that you want to just point all of your resources towards. And I'm a personal finance person, so I'm going to speak mostly to money, but like this works the same way for like time and effort and sacrifice and all this other stuff too. It works the same way, but if we just focus on like, where do I want to point my money? So this could be like, hey, I need to go to the gym more. I need to I don't know, do all these kids activities. I have 2 kids, so it's like that's a non-negotiable for me. We need to like keep giving them new experiences, right? So you'd have this list, and then that's how we start framing where our money goes, okay? And I'm at this lower paying job. I started my 401k, and just for some context, I'm pulling it up on my phone now. Here's where it stands at the moment. Currently it says $177,000. And this isn't like a screenshot, like I can interact with this, okay? And the reason why I'm showing you that, not to brag, just to show you that I started at literally point 0 10 years ago. And this is just like this is my 401k account. We have other stuff, okay? But I'm just trying to show you that it's possible. I just remember feeling so uncomfortable when I started the 401k thing. And here's why, because I had no idea what I was doing. It's just like, I was just doing it because other people told me to do it. It was like, okay, you get the job and then they're going to tell you to open a 401k and you should just do it. And I didn't know what that was. Again, I went to school for accounting. They didn't really talk about 401ks and accounting necessarily, but like, there's just not enough education out there for young people, in my personal opinion. And I really kind of struggled with the idea of this 401k thing because I didn't understand it. And I was like I'm living paycheck to paycheck and you're telling me that I have to put money to something that I can only access in the future. Like, what are we talking about here? So I was just so uncomfortable, and no one at the company really wanted to help because then it's sort of like financial advice, right? So it's like, there was no one there to help me. So it was a silly fear, but now I realize why it happened, because after going through this motion time and time again with different things in the, like, personal finance is all just a game that continues and continues and continues. And there's levels to this, right? So in my opinion, there's two decisions in this world. There's reversible decisions and non-reversible decisions. So for me, a non-reversible decision is I have 2 kids. It's pretty non-reversible. I can't put them back in there, right? But something like painting a room is very reversible. Like, if we don't like it, we just paint it over again or strip it down, whatever people do for painting. But I think decisions like that, where like, oh, painting a room, I think we all think it's like this huge thing, this non-reversible thing. And if we insert like a money thing, like signing up for a 401k is it's a very reversible thing. Like, we could just either stop doing it, we could change the, like, where the money's going inside of it. We could do all these things. So like, just starting, I think, is really, really important, because I almost didn't do it. But eventually I just said, all right, like, fuck it. Like, all these other people are saying to do it, so I should just do it. And maybe that's not the best strategy to go, like, to be part of the crowd, just merge with the crowd. But everyone was saying to do it, and I was just like, all right, screw it. And after doing this for a couple years, just the 401k thing, you start seeing the number going up a little bit. It's like, oh, this is kind of cool. And in the beginning, though, all the money that you're putting towards it is just the money that's in there. It's like the compounding effect doesn't really happen that soon. And it's really kind of frustrating because it's just this big, like, flat line. And it's like, oh, like, basically all that's in there is just the money that I've put in. So that's why I think people don't stick with it, because they don't understand the long term. Like, everyone wants to get rich tomorrow, but no one understands that if we start, best time to start was 10 years ago, right? But after I was doing the 401k thing for a couple of years, I started to get the urge to, like, invest in stocks. I was like, oh, let me take the next level with this, because I liked the idea of the 401k thing. So I would sign up for, like most people do when they're trying to learn new things, like information. So I'd sign up for, I don't know, investing news or emails or newsletters or whatever. And just to, like, kind of dive a little deeper and just try to learn on my own. And then I would get these emails where they'd be like, oh, hey, we're actually running this webinar, and they would tease like, oh, this is going to be the stock of the century. You have to be here at this webinar. We're going to reveal it all. We're going to say, like, all these things. Here's all how crazy it is, right? And they really just want all these newbies to join the webinar. So I kept putting, I was like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. I got enough of those emails. I was like, all right, fine. Let me just freaking do one of these webinars. So I guess I'm the big sucker now, right? And I went on it, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. At the end of this, I'm going to learn what the stock of the century is, and I'm going to be so rich because no one else will know about this except for the 100 people on this webinar, right? So stupid. But basically, they go through it. They tease the stock the entire time, and then at the end, they're like, we would love to share the stock with you, but you have to sign up for our thing that costs money. And the first one, I was like, oh, this is a scam. So I just left. And then a couple weeks later, I joined another webinar. I was like, surely it can't be the same thing, right? It was again. And then for some reason, I joined a third one. And at this point, I was like, looking back, I'm like, what are you doing? I joined a third one, and that one I was like, screw it. I just got to sign up for this because I just have an itch. I got to figure out like what the hell's going on here. And yeah, it was. I don't remember how much it was. It was between, I don't know, $100, $200 a thing to like sign up for some annual membership thing. I was like, sure. So I signed up for the thing. You know, they still kind of pull your leg a little bit. It's not like they give it to you right away. You have to like sign up for all this other stuff or whatever. Anyway, I got the stock and I signed up for like a brokerage account, which I've never had before. I just had the 401k. And let me tell you, I only owned that stock for 2 weeks because I was so anxious because I had literally just taken someone's recommendation off the internet about a stock pick. And I had I've never even heard of the company before. I didn't know what they did. I didn't know anything about the industry that they were in, but I just blindly was following these people. And I'm sure they're pretty good at, stock stuff or whatever. I don't know. But like, I just blindly followed them. And I would have my brokerage account up at work and I would just stare at the green and the red going up and down. And it was way too much for me emotionally. I ended up selling 2 weeks later, small loss, whatever, it doesn't matter. But it was a really good lesson for me because it was such an emotional roller coaster. I was like, I don't think I should do something that I don't understand again. And that's just a good rule of thumb, I would think. If you're thinking about like growing your money, it's like if you don't understand it, you probably shouldn't be doing it because you're going to lose your shorts, right? Because people that know what they're doing still lose their shorts a lot. So then I was like, all right, well then there's got to be like a safer way to do all this or whatever, like a less emotional thing to do because it's like everyone's kind of doing this investing thing and I just don't know what to do or what. So I did more digging and I joined some personal finance communities. And this is actually where I discovered index funds. So the concept of these, if you're not familiar, is it's kind of this collection of stocks. It's in one fund. And the most popular one of these that gets talked about a lot is the S&P 500. Basically, it's the bundle of U.S. Companies, the top 500 in the stock market. Okay, so it's just a bundle of 500 companies. So now instead of trading one company that I don't know anything about or an industry I didn't know anything about and watching the ups and downs and the volatility of just one company, this is like a bundle of stocks. So it's 500 companies. So if you put $100 towards company X or $100 towards this index fund, it's certainly still risky. We could always lose our money at any time, but it's less volatile because, again, there's 500 companies. So if one completely shits the bed, you're fine because you have 499 that are going to save you. But if you pick the one that shits the bed over here, you're done, right? Now, in saying that, the floor is higher on the one company, right? Because it's one, like, so it could be a rocket ship and it could do everything. But for me, and maybe this is my personality maybe, but being more risk averse, like less risky things felt more comfortable for me. So that's how I kind of got into this. And again, all investments are risky. So I would just recommend that you understand how much risk you're comfortable with and go in that direction. Figure out, like, we'll call it a bucket for you of like where feels comfortable. Are you comfortable just throwing money to cryptocurrency? Are you comfortable just doing, I don't know, safer things? So that's up for you. So reversible decisions and risk tolerance have been the two takeaways so far from this video of the things that I've kind of learned. So I'd love to hear from you how you started investing or thinking about growing your money. And if you have a story to share, kind of like how I did, like how did you start? Why did you start? Where are you now? I'd love to hear from you down in the comments. And what I didn't mention yet was I moved out of my house when I was 25. So in those early 20s, when I had a job, even though it was pretty low paying, I was just pumping money into my my regular savings account. It wasn't a high yield savings. I didn't know what I was doing. So it's just a regular basic savings account. I didn't know what else to do with it. But in my later 20s, my wife and I, we lived in an apartment. We were looking at houses. And the savings that I had accumulated somehow got to like $40,000. Again, I wasn't checking it. I was just putting money away. And it got up to that point. It's pretty substantial, right? I don't know how it got that big, to be honest with you. But I think just like doing a consistent thing over time is what got me there. And again, I was not making a lot of money at the time. And I'm actually really thankful to have that part of my life where I was just blindly saving. So I went from not knowing what I was doing to just putting money away because it felt like the right thing to do. And I think the risk aversion helped a little bit. Like me wanting to be less risky helped. So I just put it in a place where I could see it every day, which is my savings account, right? Even though I wasn't looking. So it was there. I didn't know it was there. And had I known, I probably would have, quote, optimized it and maybe put it in a high yield savings account, which is just a savings account that gives you a higher interest rate than your standard savings account in your bank will. And I think the term like optimizing your money, it gets kind of glorified in the personal finance space. Everyone talks about it. But for me, I would just much rather have you and me and all of us just build up like this really big safety net first, and whatever that means for you. So I don't think optimizing is always the right thing. I would just start building some habits and just start like having a buffer. So my wife and I were looking at houses after we lived together for a couple of years, and because of that savings, because of those habits that I built, we were able to afford like quite like a larger house than what I would have anticipating. Again, I never bought a house before. I didn't know what that looked like. So we actually got a house in like, we'll call it like a little cheaper town. What's really funny is like when my wife and I moved into our apartment, we really struggled financially. And then towards the end of those 2 years, we were like, we feel like we had breathing room. And then once we moved into our first home, it was right back to like, oh my God, we are like struggling here. And then we lived there for 4.5 years. And towards the end of that, it felt like a breeze, the mortgage payment, right? But every time, so like the rent was like $1,200 or something. And then our mortgage payment went to like $2,500. So just that big gap when you're not making a ton of money feels tremendous. But then over time, like we continue to grow our skills at our 9-to-5 job and, gain more income. And it just felt easier over like a couple year time horizon. And I really just want to bang this home. Like when we lived in our apartment, when we decided to, move into the house, we were probably making a combined like 80 or 90,000. Like, again, we weren't making a lot of money. Okay. So it's not like we were rich and we were going to be fine. Like it was quite I guess it was a gamble. We were doing like the long-term play. But then we moved into the house and we were there for a bit. And again, it got a little easier and we're like, starting to have that conversation about having kids. So we wanted to do like an audit of our life. Like where in our life is a problem? Like what are the things that would be holding us back from being like better parents, right? So one of the things was debt, which I haven't brought up yet. We realized that we're like, oh my God, we have over $40,000 of debt between the two of us, not including the house. So it's just like credit card stuff and all these loans, student loans, whatever. And we're like, oh my God, like, what if we got rid of all that and then we had like less of a liability? Because from what we heard, and now I can confidently say that being a parent is very, very challenging in all aspects, but especially financially. Like you don't have a kid to improve your finances, right? But we realized like, oh my God, if the debt between us goes away, there would just be a little less stress because we were just making minimum payments every month, and we were not strategically optimizing to remove it. It was just like this annoying thing that was just there every single month. So it was like, how do we get rid of this? So we're like, okay, we drew a line in the sand and we're like, we have to just talk about this all the time. We have to just be on full communication with all this. So every month for 5-10 minutes in our living room on our couch, we set up this terrible spreadsheet that we would just fill out. It was basically like, here's all our loans. What's the ending balance after each of the months? So like my wife would take the laptop because she had her own loans and then give it to me. I had mine, so I would enter those, and then we'd have shared, so we'd enter those. And we had all these loans, but we only had one bank account so between us. So we had to make sure that we were prioritizing the right ones. So it'd be like, okay, we're going to put all the extra money towards the debt to your thing this month. And it's going to take 2 months to pay yours off. And we're going to be done with that. And we're going to roll it into the next thing. And actually, we didn't know it at the time, but we used the debt snowball method to pay off our loans because of the 12 loans, 4 of them were under $1,200. So we're like, okay, if we could just get rid of these as soon as possible, then we go from 12 loans to 8 loans, and that would just feel a little more manageable. And the debt snowball method, the analogy is true. Like you think about this little tiny snowball, and you just slowly push it down a hill and pretend like it just is going to keep going. You push it down Mount Everest. By the time it gets to the bottom, it's this massive boulder of snow, and that's what ended up happening with us. We were paying minimums on everything, and then we put all the extra money that we had, I think it was like an extra like $500 or something, towards the smallest one. And then a couple months go by, that one gets paid off. All of that money that we were paying goes to the second smallest, and that happened really quick. And then 3 and 4 happened again really quick because they were all about the same. And then we had almost like, I don't know, it was like $1,500 just rolling into the next one. It was just like this thing that kept compounding. It was pretty awesome. So if I were to walk up to someone on the street and they asked me, hey, how should I pay off my debt? And I didn't know them or any of the outside things, and I just had to tell them an answer, I would just say the debt snowball method over the debt avalanche method, because the snowball method in most cases, it's just going to give you like the faster win, the faster feedback, because it's attacking the smaller loan first. It might not be the most financially savvy move. That's the debt avalanche method. You're going to save more money with the debt avalanche method. But I think since there's more than just money when it comes to debt, there's emotions, and it's just, relationships are at stake and all these other things, right? I saw a stat recently that something like 50% of people that say they get divorced, it's like money related. That's crazy, right? So, and that's why, that's why I make the videos that I make here. I'm just trying to help families and people be more efficient with their money and put it towards things that matter to them the most. So the reason why we're able to do this so successfully is we drew the line in the sand and we said no to a lot of family and friend stuff, especially paid family and friend events. Like, hey, do you want to go to this thing that costs money? And we would just say no. Now, what I wish we had done was I wish we had said no because we're doing the debt thing. But I think we were just so embarrassed to tell people that. So we would just lie all the time and say we were sick, or, oh, we have other plans, or all this stuff. And we just didn't think other people would understand. But really looking back, it's like, we should have told them. And if they don't understand, they don't understand. That's on them. But like, this is our goal, guys. So if either you're with us or you're not, right? And that's the mindset that I would take now if I was going into it. One of the things that helped us through this time period was the pandemic. So towards the end of us paying the $43,000 of debt in just over a year, towards the end of that was COVID, and we both had jobs that we were able to work from home. So I know it's kind of uncomfortable to talk about the pandemic because a lot of people, people passed away, people lost their jobs, people lost their homes, people lost all these things, their businesses. We used it as an advantage because we were spending less money and we still got paid the same amount. So we put that extra money towards the debts. So I would say overall the pandemic really helped out with that. And again, that's uncomfortable to say because so many people had so many, it was a tough time, right? And even thinking back, 6 years ago now, basically when it happened, tough for everyone. So there was some luck involved for sure to help us speed this along. But I think this is another takeaway for me because I wouldn't, the more effort you put towards something, this is my opinion, the larger surface area of luck you have a chance of having. So if you put more time into something, eventually there might be some situation where you just get lucky because you're always doing it. You're always and every time you do it, the surface area of you doing it gets bigger. During this time period when student loan debts got paused or whatever the terminology was, there was a lot of people out there, including people in our circles, our friends and family. They're like, oh, thank God. I can pause my payments indefinitely, and then they'll just pick up whenever they pick up. But we saw it as an opportunity to we should still just pay it. We should still just get it off and not wait. So it was perfect timing again because, then we found out we were pregnant. And I say we were pregnant. My wife always reminds me that she was the pregnant one and I was not. But over the next couple of years, we took some of that money that we were putting towards the debt. So think about when we stopped paying off our debt, we had this big chunk of money that we've been putting towards our debt every month. and we saved up for, I don't know, a couple months, and we were able to put down $3,000 into like as a withdrawal, as a deposit to a 529 education savings plan for our son, who was our first kid. And that was really important to us because who knows what's going to happen with traditional education going forward. But it was important for us to have that. And if you're not sure what that is, it's basically this like taxed advantage money growth account, and it can be used for educational purposes. So like, I don't say going to college, or like, I don't know, buying things for education purposes, right? There's a lot of rules on it, and it's like state specific kind of, but also it applies to the whole country, whatever. So it's definitely something I would look at if you have kids and you want to put something away for them. But honestly, he's almost 5, and that account is at like $13,000 or something like that, 16,000. It's like a crazy amount. Unfortunately, our daughter, who's almost 2, her account has barely taken off. So sorry, babes, but we're working on it. It's just a timing thing, right? Of the stock market and whatever. It's connected to the stock market, all this other stuff. So for all the parents out there, like, what do you guys think about your kids' future education? Do you have an account set up for them? Is it in the works? Do you not have enough information about like what to do, where to do it, or whatever? Just let me know down in the comments too. I'd love to have a conversation around that as well. I can at least share my perspective. And now the next phase of our life. So we're at the first house. We have our son. Okay. The pandemic was going crazy. The housing market went nuts. Now, we bought our first house thinking we'd be there for a while, to be quite honest with you, but we realized that we could get 1.5 times basically the amount that we paid for our house as the value of the home. And we didn't see it as like a forever home, but we saw it as like I don't know, over 10 years. I don't know. So we took the opportunity and we upgraded the house again. That's where we live now. And again, it all sort of boils down to the habits that I built earlier on when I really didn't know what I was doing. I didn't have a plan with the money per se. And I think that's something that hopefully maybe you can take away, because I talk to a lot of people about their personal finances. And I think the thing that might hold people back is they wait to start because they don't know what they're starting for. To me, this was just one of the biggest unlocks. I just started saving money just because I thought it was the right thing to do. And then I started growing money just because I thought it was the right thing to do. Now, my wife and I have this account where we just, anytime that we have a little extra money after the months now, we just put it in this other account, and it just kind of grows. And we don't know what that's going to be for, to be quite honest with you. But when an opportunity comes, we just want to be ready to do it. But now we do have a larger mortgage payment. So I mentioned it was like, $1,200 rent, $2,500 mortgage at the first house, which we refinanced down to like $2,000 during the pandemic when the rates were crazy. And now our mortgage is a lot more than that now. So we have to keep doing the exercise of the North Star goals to realign our money towards the things that matter to us the most, because now we have another massive amount of money difference to pay from like the first home to our current home, right? But now our expenses are way higher, like way higher, because I mean, obviously the mortgage is more, so the house is bigger, so there's more problems with that. There's more things to tend to. Our kids are both in daycare, so it's like that costs us $2,500 a month. Like, what is going on here? And it's not even one of the most. It's not even like, it's like fine. It's not like a super nice place or anything. It's probably one of the least expensive things that we found in our area, which is just nuts. So yeah, now that we have about 26 years left on the mortgage, one of my goals is to pay it off in 10 years from when we started. So I have 6 years to pay off multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars on the mortgage. And thinking through that is kind of crazy, but like, how do we do that? So we're kind of reverse engineering that. So our son is going to kindergarten in a few months. So he won't be going to daycare, which means we'll free up like whatever that is, the $1,200 a month. And I think the plan with that is to put all of that towards paying off our mortgage faster. Now, I think a lot of people in the finance space might tell me or us or whoever that that's not the most optimized thing to do with our money. But for me, I would feel almost financially free if I was able to get rid of the debt, the mortgage, and then I would only have, sure, the property tax, the insurances on it, but getting rid of the mortgage, it would just free us up completely because our income is pretty high. It's like $200,000 a year plus. So having all of that freed up every single month, we would just be able to explode all of our financial goals. We'd be able to put so much more towards all that stuff. I keep coming back to the decision making that I made in times when I didn't have all the answers. Again, maybe that's lucky, maybe I got lucky, but most decisions, and I think this is like the one takeaway. So if you're still watching this and you want one takeaway from this video, most decisions, especially with our finances, are reversible. So like just start something. Because if you find that an account isn't doing what it's supposed to do, or it's, to get technical, if you're like not in the right like fund or, bucket of funds or, whatever your goals are, if you're not in the right one, you could just like move it or stop contributing to it, or you could do a whole bunch of other things, but like just start doing something so that you can be ready for when that thing actually happens. Another big takeaway here is my fear of risk has definitely changed. At first, I was so afraid of risk. I mean, remember going back to the me sitting at my desk watching the investments go up and down and up and down. That felt so risky. And I didn't invest much. I probably put in like $500. Like at the end of the day, it's like it was a lot for me at the time, because I thought it was like, oh, if you just think like you found the moonshot stock and it's gonna like 10x and all this other stuff. But now I think I am I'm working on my risk aversion, but I still think I feel risk a lot. I think now because we have, our mortgage is a little more, we have 2 kids. So it's like, we still need to be able to have some sort of foundation to be able to provide for our family and do all these other things. Do I regret buying a larger home? No, but I have to understand that it's going to take longer to now feel financially free. If we were in that first house, honestly, we'd be so much closer to paying it off like already. So it just makes you think, but I think this is the right move for us. I think our obsession of just the next financial goal is really what caused us to be able to do the stuff. So at first, the first financial goal for me before I even like met my wife was knowing how much money was in my bank account. That's where it all started, right? And then it was like, how do I get out of the paycheck to paycheck cycle? Then it was how do we at this point, how do we just run from the paycheck to paycheck cycle? Now that we're out of it, how do we just run from it? Okay. And that's why we're just so obsessed. It was like, okay, pay off the debt. Okay. Put the money towards the money growth thing. Like, okay, have this huge buffer. And I call it like the short-term stability. So it's like the accounts in your short-term stability are checking savings and maybe like your high yield savings emergency fund sort of thing. Just like stockpile that. Think of it like, you've probably seen like a bank heist video or something like that, movie, whatever. The tightest security is like our short-term stability. So it would take some massive something to really disrupt that, because we have a buffer in our checking account. We have a buffer in our savings account. We have a emergency fund account as well. So it'd be like having to drill through the first vault at a bank only to find out there's this massive corridor of like all the laser beam things, right? And it's got an armed guard at the end of it. So you have to somehow get through all that. And then once you do, you have to open another vault. And then in there's like crocodiles that you have to climb over, right? Whatever, right? It would take a very special person to be able to steal from that bank. And I feel like it would take a very special circumstance for us to get hurt financially now. So the lesson of this video is just like start something. Please just start. And I'm hoping it doesn't take you 10 years like it's taken me to go to where I am now. Like that's why I'm making these videos. I'm trying to shorten anyone who's interested in growing their money or their personal finances. I'm hoping that this content will help you like take less time than what I did. And the end of this video is getting quite long, so I'm helping families like yours improve your net worth with some of the same tactics and mindset shifts that I've talked about for me in this video. That's how I was able to build this thing and help all these people with their personal finances. I have a community, it's linked down below, but really, if you're interested in starting your own money system, I call it the personal finance operating system. I'm going to just link it right here. I made it on YouTube, but it's in my community, but I'm giving it away for free if you guys are interested to check that out. And I will see you in the next video.